State of the franchise numero seven, your boy Rough Dog on the table. Probably one of our biggest haters, but at the same time, maybe the most listened viewer. Tim, how we doing tonight?
Doing good. He loves to watch. Rough dog in the house.
Lots to watch. All right, so we got Rough Dog here. So before we even get into this will be his sixth season in the league. Does that math look right? Looks about right. Um, which is the most for this team ever. Hubbard had the team for 4 years. LT had the team for 4 years. Ruff's jumping into six with this team, and he's done a pretty good job, all things considering. Joined the league in 2020. He's got a winning record, 36 and 33 all time. He's on the come up last year, first division title and first playoff win. Um, Most shots thrown at the pod. Shoulda. Feel like that one. Yeah, 8-6 last year, three straight 8-win seasons, and actually just as many winning seasons as Ryan in eight less seasons played. So
That's a crazy
kind of a
statistic.
crazy stat right there. Yeah. Um, how about Ruff as an owner? How you feeling so far? Six years in.
You got to feel good about it. I mean, I feel like he's always managed to get a better output than what the team is. And he always winds up finding like a running back or two every year, no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that'll be the theme this year too. There's a handful of guys on his roster where you kind of just hope that one of them pops off, and one of them definitely could. And I'm sure he'll come out of the draft with a couple studs on his team. He came into the league in 2020. He immediately drafted Jamar Chase and Deebo Samuel, and those guys are still kicking on his team as you'll see in just a bit here. Um, so his running backs, Tim, take us off with the RBs.
Yeah. So running backs, Chuba Hubbard had a great season last year, RB 15. We both have him as a teal. Tanks Bigsby, really solid season last year. I think there was a couple of big like pop games that he had.
Yep.
We have him as a pink. I think that backfield is really questionable. We'll
Right.
see what happens with it. I mean, Tanks Bigsby might take off this year. Then DeAndre Swift. I don't love DeAndre Swift, but like who else is on the Bears that's really going to take that role from him? Rashad White, I think maybe not the best this year, although I could see that being more of a split than we're giving it credit to. Um, I guess it depends on what happens after this year. And then Kareem Hunt, which is kind of a throw in for us.
Yeah, and worth mentioning, Austin Eckler is also on his roster. I was debating putting him or Kareem Hunt up there. I think either one of those guys basically are almost head in handcuffs. Will have some sort of role, but probably need an injury to kind of take over any starting running back duties. Yeah, Chuba Hubbard. He made one of the bigger moves this past year, late in the year, trading DK for Chuba in the first. Basically, I think was kind of the main parameters of the trade. And I think he needed to. I think we were talking about that all season, where he had like a bunch of receivers. It was time to tr cash in one of those receivers for running back. Um, and like I mean, Carolina brought in Rico Dowdle. Big Rico Dowdle guy by me, I guess. I don't know why I was a huge on him a couple pods ago. But with that being said, I think Chuba Hubbard is in line for 20 touches a week right now. So you should feel
Yeah.
pretty good. Honestly, feel pretty good about him. Maybe even cracking top 10. And I think that's why we both have him as a teal. Maybe a little too good for the top 20 rank. Tank Bigsby, you keep saying tanks. Is it Tanks Bigsby? Or is that just you just
I'm saying tank. I'm saying
yeah.
tank.
We'll have to run it back. But yeah, I agree. I think initially it was kind of him like kind of taking over that backfield. ETN was banged up. Who knows with this new coaching staff coming in? Could be any one of those guys stepping up. I know that rookies kind of had a few big good preseason game and a couple good camps. And yeah, I don't know. Something about DeAndre Swift. I feel like the last time he was with Ben Johnson, he did pretty well in Detroit. So he could also kind of take over that RB2 role for Ruff. Um, and then yeah, Rashard White. I would be almost more nervous about Sean Tucker taking over that RB2 role and him almost taking a back seat to him as well. But with 1 year on the contract, maybe they kind of just use him out and let him walk after the
Yeah.
contract's over. So yeah, not that I mean, definitely not the strongest RB group we've seen, but there's a few guys here that could. If Tank steps up, if DeAndre steps up, then Ruff's team's looking a little bit better.
Who do you have the most faith in out of those three right there?
Chuba, like is Chuba included?
No, not Chuba. So Tank, DeAndre, and Rashad.
Honestly, DeAndre, just because I think Tank's the better player and probably has more upside. But like you said, I mean, they just really don't have a ton of running backs going on. They got Roshan Johnson, but this type of stuff that Ben Johnson likes to do and getting his running backs involved in the receiving game, I feel like that just favors DeAndre Swift a little bit more. And he finished 19th last year, and that was the offense was not great. So I can see him kind of cracking that top 15 with
Yeah,
a step forward from Caleb and that entire offense. You feel the same with DeAndre, or you think more tanks?
probably the same with DeAndre. That there's really no one else there, and somebody's got to get the rock. And they revamped the whole O
Yeah.
line.
I'd feel better about Tank 2 years from now first DeAndre, but for this
Yeah,
coming season, definitely DeAndre. Oop. All right. His wide receivers, his bread and butter, his guy, Jamar Chase. He's had him since the start. And he's killed it. Last year finishes the wide receiver one. No signs of slowing down. Even with T. Higgins back in the fold last year, Chase still came out, killed it. Devontae Adams is could be a huge swing for him. If Devontae Adams has a season that he can have in that type of offense with LA and crack back into that top 10, um, he could have all of a sudden two top 10 receivers that are giving him 15 points a game.
yeah.
Um, we both had Devontae Green last year. I think he was coming off a little bit of a down year. He missed a few games as well while he was with Oakland, Las Vegas. So I think he's actually top 10. He was top 10 last year in um, points per game at the receiver position, but still finished 14th. You see in the step back maybe just kind of with Puka being in the fold and being the wide receiver one there.
I think it's less about whether he's a wide receiver one or two, and more about Stafford and what's
Mm.
going on there.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that back injury is just more and more concerning each year. I believe it's a back injury that's kind of held him
Yeah,
out for the last, basically his career. It's felt like the second half of his career.
yep.
So yeah, if he's not healthy and it's Jimmy G, it's kind of full circle for Devontae Adams was begging for a trade when he was in Vegas while Jimmy G was throwing him medicine balls or hospital balls. Um, and now he might just have Jimmy G again. At least with McVay this time though, so maybe things will be different. Um, and then yeah, a couple guys here were pretty good move for him. Debo going over to Washington and then just breaking up Debo and Jawan both being on the Niners. Maybe a little more opportunity for Debo over there. But there was times last year where he looked pretty cooked. I mean, we both had him as a green last year, so I think even the year before that he wasn't like his elite self that we saw 2 or 3 seasons ago. Um, so I don't know, maybe they get him more involved, but he looked kind of cooked a few times last year, so I'd be a little bit nervous about that. But new team, so you never know.
He did, but this could really blow up in our face.
Yeah.
He could be a really solid asset for Ruff for sure.
Yep. Juwan Jennings too. Kind of that same thing with Pearsall in the previous pod where I think they both have opportunities here to kind of seize that wide receiver position. Juwan Jennings obviously had massive games last year and kind of looked like the go-to guy after Kittle, but not too sure if that can keep up. It's more of a question mark, I feel like still. And then the last two guys also, I feel like are question marks. I know I had Bateman as a pink. There's a few times last year where he felt like he was kind of dialing in and almost being a favorite target of Lamar over Zay Flowers at the receiver position a few games. So maybe he kind of just keeps improving. I know he was a very touted prospect coming out of college. Um, but that's more speculative more than anything. Any of those three guys you feel good about, or does it kind of fall off after Debo?
Yeah, probably Juwan Jennings out of the three.
Yeah.
And that's really just for this season.
Hmm.
Rashad Bateman, I almost feel like is Gus, where like he's had 3, 4 years to figure it out, and he just hasn't figured it out.
Yeah. they did give him a decent contract and kind of they almost basically committed to like, all right, this guy's gonna be our wide receiver too for the foreseeable future type of contract.
Yeah.
Um, but still, yeah, even though last year he felt like he had a solid year and he still, I mean, didn't crack the top 30, so Pink was probably a little aggressive. Um, but yeah, and then that Green Bay room. I was stunned to see Romeo Dobbs is only 25 years old. For some reason, felt like he's just been in the league longer, but he really has only been in the league for a few seasons. This is the last year of his rookie deal. And something we keep saying like, the Green Bay receivers. I feel like one of these guys is going to have to step up and be Jordan Love's go-to target. And we've seen that with Dobbs a little bit. Maybe not this past year, but the year before. So maybe that works out. But a lot of speculation in his receiver group.
Yeah.
How's the stack up with the rest of the league? I know Jamar Chase and Devontae kind of carries a little weight, but are you
Feels like
trading?
middle of the pack to me.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I agree. It's kind of strictly off. You have the number one guy in the league, so it's tough
Yeah.
to really bad at it. And then probably the most stunning position group we've seen so far. This might be the only slide where we don't have a green. We'll see throughout the 10 teams. So, well, why don't you start us off? I mean, I don't want to put you on blast for this, but I feel like you were a little bit of a Purdy guy last year. So I'll let you kind of kick us off on the quarterbacks and tight ends.
I don't know if I agree with that. Brock Purdy and Geno Smith. We have them as both yellow guys, like a top 15 quarterback. Neither of them are really rushing quarterbacks at this point,
Mhm.
and I think it's more of the same. Where you have a startable guy who's going to get like 15 points. Dallas Goddard and Dalton Schultz. I don't even know if it's worth talking about either one of these two.
Wow.
So I don't have too much to say.
Would you take your tight ends over his?
Yes.
Wow. Dallas did finish 11th in points per game last year. I know that's not that great, but that 27th is a little misleading. He only played 10 games.
And
Um,
how many of them were the game against Rashid where he popped off for like 20 points?
that's probably most of them. Sorry. Um, I don't have it directly in front of me, but yeah, I mean, he definitely feels like a guy. I think I had him a few years ago. He feels like a guy that has a couple good weeks here and there and gets you excited, and then the next week he gives you one catch for 15 yards. Um, yeah, I mean, Purdy and Gino, they finished right where we kind of ranked them last year, 13th and 14th, right inside that top 15 cut line for the quarterbacks. Um, yeah, I mean, Dalton Schultz probably wasn't even worth putting the name up there. Ruff really needs to, I don't know if it's going to be through the draft, which we'll get to in a second here. He's got some options, but he's got to address the quarterback and tight ends position somehow. And we'll kind of get into that later when how we'll, if you were the GM. But like we said, he's got some picks here. He got the ninth, or he technically got the eighth pick for Chuba Hubbard trade. Rashid originally had it from Kevin for Amari Cooper, and then Rashid traded Kevin's pick and Chuba for DK. So Ruff has a couple picks here in the back half of the first round. It's definitely might be the hot spot here for the tight ends. So maybe he walks away with one of those tight ends, Loveland and Warren. And is he the first guy that maybe takes a stab at Cam Ward? Probably be a little aggressive in our one quarterback league, but it's a thought there. And then he's got his rest of his picks for next year and the rest of the 2025 draft.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of let you take over with the picks too. And if you're the GM of Ruff's team, what's kind of your strategy going into the draft slash beginning of this season, in the future?
Yeah. I feel like Ruff is hit on his picks. I know you disagree and you think it's just Jamar Chase and that's it. Um, I think 108, 109, he's in a fantastic spot where it's Emmanuel Ibuka is one of those picks for sure. And then maybe he does start the tight end movement because I think Rashid is likely to take one at 110,
Mhm.
and you're probably likely to take one at 201.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want one to follow me. I don't expect it at this point. Like after I start looking at the draft board, I would love for one of them to follow 2.01, but I think it goes Ruff and then Rashid takes the other one at the back half of the first round. Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, are who we're referring to. Um, so yeah, I agree. I think Ruff almost has to take like some shots at some younger guys. Like, does he try to entice you for a trade with for Braylon Allen, like something like that? Um, Maybe some question marks. Maybe he goes to Jillian for like a Jalen Waddle that has kind of had a down year and tries to pick up some of these guys that maybe they have lesser value right now, but maybe they can turn things around. Um, so he at least has some assets to play with, and maybe he decides to take one of his first round picks and trades for a more established guy as well, especially during the draft. People are going to be like, shit, I kind of want to make a pick right now. I can see Tyler maybe overpaying to get back into the first round, or maybe even me if I get a little nervous about some of the tight ends not being there. Because he really needs assets right now. So maybe he looks at me and goes, hey, you got I got 1.09, you got 2.01. You give me like an extra third or an extra second for dropping down a couple slots here.
Yeah,
So something like that. I think he's got to kind of work the draft day, and then as the season goes, if he's having another year where he's just piling on wins, keep it rolling. Um, but I think if he starts out 1-4, 1-5, it might be time to move like an Adams, or a Tank, or maybe not Tank. Maybe Tank's one of the guys you hold because he's young, but maybe like a DeAndre Swift and Adams to a team that's contending this year,
yeah, yeah.
and getting some picks.
I agree with that. If the season starts off slow, you gotta sell this team.
Yeah,
Um,
and just build around Chase. We're not saying, I think we might have mentioned in the past, like, hey, maybe you kind of dump Chase for a bunch of assets. I think at this point, you just got to kind of ride Chase out. He's going to be, I feel like he's lined up to be elite for the next 4 or 5 years. You try to build around him, and that's your starting point.
yeah, agreed. You can't move Chase. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, could he entice Kevin at all for Henry? Because Kevin's got like no picks.
Yeah.
Could you
What
throw
would
out
it,
like two first rounders, 108 and 109? And would that get it done?
I feel like it would get it done for, I don't know. Kevin's in such like a win now mode that how what are the 1.08 and 1.09 really doing for you? And yeah, you get a little bit younger, but then you're kind of like, am I even competing this year? And I only got like a few young guys, but I feel like that should be enough for Henry. I would
Yeah,
think.
probably get Judkins though. And you know Kevin would love
Yeah,
Judkins.
that's a great point. Kevin would love would love Judkins. I agree with you on Ibuka too. I was honestly thinking before the Judkins thing. If like Harvey left before me, if Travion was gone, I was gonna honestly take Ibuka at 1.07.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so I think Ruff's gonna be like a lot of these teams are gonna be wait and see how the draft plays out. Maybe make some moves on draft days, got some assets, and then as the season goes, kind of determine if you're one of those teams that's gonna make a run or one of those teams that might have to pack it in for a year.
What's the over under on this team?
We got hit with this a lot last year. I think it's at 5.5, and
Really?
I'd imagine he gets to the sixth win and maybe pulls a 6-8 season, but there's a world where he goes 4-10, 5-9.
I could definitely see that. I think I don't see him as like a high end team that's going to get like to 9 and 5.
Yep.
But I could see him as like a 7 and 7, or it's like a 4 and 10 season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, he's always, like we said, 3 straight 8-win seasons. Maybe not the best teams, but he's always put together a winning formula. And we love to see the commitment to the league. Um, so yeah, any closing thoughts?
No, another good year for Ruff though. We'll see what happens.
See what happens. Looking forward to it.
All right, that'll do it for us. Per Ruffin, like and subscribe. We got to get these numbers up. You know, eventually we got to start getting this YouTube revenue so we can give it to the winner of the league.
Yeah. Thank you.
All righty.
Peace.